Hey, have you ever heard someone say something and just thought, wait, what? What does that mean?
Hmm.
Or maybe you've gotten into one of those friendly arguments with someone from a different town or even a different country about what you call something really simple, like a bread roll.
Oh, definitely. Happens all the time.
Well, welcome to the deep dive. Today we're taking a serious plunge into the wonderfully weird, sometimes confusing, but always fascinating world of English slang and regional variations.
That's a great topic.
We've gathered quite a few sources for this, deep dive articles, discussions, things that really dig into what slang actually is, why we use it, and just how much English can shift depending on where you are.
Yeah, the differences can be pretty surprising.
So our mission here is basically to unpack all this stuff, pull out the key insights, the interesting bits, and give you a clearer picture of these sort of colorful, informal layers of English. Think of it like getting the inside scoop on how people really talk.
Exactly. And, it's so much more than just knowing the formal rules, understanding these variations. That's really key to genuine fluency, I think, and connecting with people properly. Language isn't just static, is it? It's alive, constantly being shaped.
It really is. So let's start with the basics then. What is slang, according to our sources?
Well, fundamentally, slang is informal language. We're talking words or phrases you probably won't find in a standard dictionary, or if you do, they'll be marked as slang or informal.
Okay.
And they're often specific to certain groups, think teenagers or online communities or social settings or even specific places.
Right. So it's not bad English,
Yeah.
just different, more casual. What makes people use it?
Ah, that's where it gets really interesting. The sources point to a few things. A big one is identity. Slang helps create an in-group.
Right.
If you understand the terms, you're part of the group, you belong. And, well, naturally, that can also create an out-group, people who don't get it.
Like parents trying to understand their kids' texts.
Exactly. And it's also about expression. Sometimes slang just captures a feeling or an idea more vividly or maybe more quickly than formal words can.
Yeah, like you were saying, finding that perfect word that doesn't quite exist formally.
Precisely. And it's incredibly dynamic. It changes so fast. What's cool today might be totally outdated next year, especially with younger people and online trends.
And you often can't guess the meaning just from the words themselves, can you? You really have to learn it from hearing it used.
That's a key point. Context is everything, which is why even if you personally don't plan on using much slang, just understanding it is crucial for following conversations, understanding movies or TV, and just feeling more confident with native speakers.
Okay, so knowing it is important. But what about using it? Where is it generally okay?
Yeah.
Because you probably wouldn't drop the latest TikTok slang in, like a job interview.
Huh. Probably not advisable, no. The sources are really clear on this. Context matters a lot.
Yeah.
Slang generally belongs in informal situations.
Like with friends,
Yeah,
family.
exactly. Chatting with friends, family, online stuff like texting or social media posts, maybe even in creative writing if you want to capture a certain voice.
Yeah, using super formal language with your mates can sound just as weird as using slang in a boardroom, right?
Yeah,
It's about matching the situation.
absolutely. Knowing your audience, knowing the setting that's key to using slang well. It adds personality, it can add subtlety. Like one source mentioned the word hangry.
Oh, I know hangry. Hungry and angry combined.
Right. There isn't really one single formal word that captures that specific feeling. Slang often steps in to fill those little gaps in expression.
Hangry is a perfect example.
Hmm.
Okay, let's look at some other examples from the sources, maybe break them down a bit. How about some casual or positive ones first?
Sure. A really common one is chill, meaning calm or relaxed. Like, don't worry about it, just chill. Or describing someone, she's really chill.
Right, not about the temperature at all.
Yep.
And cool, of course. That was everywhere.
Oh, cool is incredibly versatile, isn't it?
Right.
It can mean good or excellent, that's a cool idea. Or just agreement, see at 7, cool.
But as you mentioned, the tone can totally flip it.
Exactly. Add a bit of sarcasm and, oh, cool means you're definitely not impressed.
Hmm?
Then you have awesome and sweet for showing real enthusiasm or admiration.
That concert was awesome. Or, you got a new bike. Sweet.
Yeah, sweet used that makes perfect sense in conversation, even though it's got nothing to do with taste.
What about terms more for social stuff? Parties, maybe.
Okay, lit came up, meaning something is exciting or excellent, often used for a party or event. That party last night was lit.
Right.
And then simpler stuff like hang out. Spending time together casually. Want to hang out this weekend?
Simple, but used all the time.
Or catch up. That means talking to someone you haven't seen for a bit, getting updated on each other's lives.
Like you need to catch up in a race, find out what's happened since you last spoke. That analogy really works.
It does, doesn't it? Let's grab coffee and catch up soon. And maybe squad for your close group of friends, so that might be fading a bit now.
Language moves fast. Okay, how about those quick words, the contractions and abbreviations we see all the time, especially online?
Oh, yeah, those are everywhere. ASE, you might hear it as ASAP or spelled out ASAP. It means as soon as possible. Urgent.
Get this done ASAP.
Yep, then you've got the blends. On, want to, kind of for kind of, got to for have got to, out of for out of.
They just make things flow better when you're talking, don't they?
Oh.
I kind of want to go, but I got to finish this. We're out of milk. Much faster than saying kind of want to, have got to.
Out of, exactly. And smoother than FYI for your information, usually for sharing info that doesn't need immediate action. FYI, the meeting's moved to Tuesday.
Got it. Okay, what about reactions like surprise or disappointment?
OMG, oh my God, is huge, covers a lot. Shock, excitement, disgust. OMG, you won, or OMG, that's awful. Tone is key again. Then, yikes. That's usually for surprise or alarm, often something a bit negative or awkward. He forgot his lines on stage. Yikes.
Yikes indeed.
Bummer is for disappointment. The trip got canceled. What a bummer.
Simple, effective, and cringy. Or just cringe.
Yeah, for when something is really awkward or embarrassing to see or hear, that outfit is so cringy. Or maybe just, that was pure cringe.
It makes you physically recoil sometimes. And meh.
Meh is perfect for when you're just underwhelmed, unimpressed. How was the film? Meh. It was okay, I guess.
Total lack of enthusiasm in one sound.
And don't forget face palm. Literally, like putting your palm to your face because someone did or said something frustrating or stupid, often used online as a hashtag too. He replied all to the entire company again, face palm.
Oh, the face palm is such a universally understood gesture, even as a word. We could probably go on all day with examples.
We really could. And like we said, context, tone, even facial expressions play a huge part in understanding these terms correctly.
Right. Now, okay, if slang wasn't tricky enough, English has this whole other layer of variation, regional differences, words changing just based on where you live.
Mm-hmm. And it's not just an English thing. One source mentions Spanish having loads of words for straw. But yeah, the English-speaking world has some fantastic examples. It's not just accents. It's totally different words for the same thing.
The bread roll example you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
That one really stood out from the sources. Just how many names are there in the UK?
Well, the list included cob, bap, batch, bread bun, roll, stoddy, and probably more. It's a famous point of local pride and argument, apparently.
I can just picture it.
Yeah.
But the one that really got me was athletic shoes.
Yeah.
Trainers, sneakers.
Oh, the shoe list is wild. You've got sneakers mainly in the U.S. Northeast, gym shoes often in the Midwest, tennis shoes in other parts of the U.S.
Yeah.
Then across the pond, trainers is standard in the UK, runners in Ireland, Canada, Australia, and then the sources listed things like sand shoes, gym boots, joggers, plimsolls, daps, gutties. It's amazing, all for basically the same kind of footwear.
It really highlights the diversity, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Just for shoes. And the fizzy drink debate. Soda, pop, Coke.
Yes, that's another classic. Soda versus pop in the U.S., and that fantastic detail from the source about parts of the U.S. South where someone asks for a Coke, but they might actually want any kind of soft drink, Sprite, Dr. Pepper, anything.
So you'd have to ask what kind of Coke.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then elsewhere, it's fizzy drink in the U.K., soft drink, maybe Australia, mineral in Ireland, apparently tonic in parts of New England, ginger in parts of Scotland.
Ordering a drink becomes a linguistic adventure. And some of the regional words are just, wow. Yeah. The sources mentioned mango, meaning bell pepper.
Yeah, in parts of Pennsylvania and the Midwest, apparently. Imagine the confusion in the supermarket. I need mangoes for my salsa.
You mean the green ones? That's brilliant. What else? There were some other really surprising ones.
Well, dust bunnies supposedly have hundreds of regional names. And daddy longlegs, that name refers to completely different creatures. A spider, a crane fly, a harvestman, depending on where you are.
So you could be talking about totally different creepy crawlies.
Pretty much. Or those little bugs that roll into a ball. Pillbugs, roly-polies, slaters in Australia, woodlice, doodle bugs.
My head is spinning slightly. Just give us a few more quick examples.
Okay, quick fire. Little paths between houses. Alley, ginnel, snicket, twitten. Furniture to sit on. Couch, sofa, settee, Chesterfield, Davenport. Swimwear. Bathers, togs, swimmers, cossie, trunks, boardies, budgie smugglers. A splinter in your finger, spelk, sliver, long sandwich, sub, hoagie, hero, grinder, po' boy, place to buy fuel, gas station, petrol station, servo, filling station.
Wow, it really shows how language connects to place, to history,
Yeah.
where people settled, who they mixed with.
Exactly. Settlement patterns, different immigrant groups bringing their own words, or sometimes just a local community making up its own term that sticks.
But people usually manage to understand each other, right? Like an American asking for the elevator in London.
Yeah, most Brits know elevator means lift, and vice versa with trunk and boot for car. For the really common stuff, there's often mutual understanding, even if one term sounds a bit odd to the other person. Maybe just raises an eyebrow.
Okay, so with all this slang changing all the time and these deep-rooted regional words, how on earth do you learn it all? Especially if you're learning English. The sources had a really good suggestion, didn't they? Movies and TV.
Absolutely. Media is such a great tool. You're hearing the language used in context by native speakers. You pick up pronunciation, rhythm, intonation.
And you get exposed to all the different accents and regional variations too. American shows, British ones, Australian.
Definitely. It really helps tune your ear, improves your listening skills, especially for faster, more natural conversations that you don't always get in textbooks.
It's like painless learning, almost.
Mhm.
The sources suggested using English subtitles, right? To connect the sounds with the words.
Yeah, subtitles are great. And maybe focusing on characters known for using a lot of slang. The classic example given was Chandler from Friends. And consciously choosing shows from different places to get a feel for the differences.
Makes sense.
And of course, beyond media, just listening. Listening to native speakers you interact with, and crucially, not being afraid to ask. If you hear a word or phrase you don't get, just ask. It's the best way to learn.
Right, active learning. Okay, so let's pull this all together. Why should you, listening now, care about all this slang and regional stuff? What are the main benefits?
Well, understanding it really does boost your overall fluency and your confidence in real-world chats. Your listening skills get way better, especially with fast speech. You get deeper cultural insights, too, because slang reflects what's current, what people find funny, what their value. It connects you to pop culture, social media.
Makes the language feel more alive.
Exactly. And ultimately, it just helps build better connections with people. When you understand their informal language, communication feels more natural, more relaxed. You can build rapport more easily.
So embracing this side of English makes you a more well-rounded and effective communicator all around.
Definitely. But always remember, it's constantly shifting. Slang especially, driven by youth, pop culture, the internet. Things change incredibly fast. New words pop up, old ones fade away.
That's part of the challenge, but also part of the fun, I guess. Keeping up.
It is. And just a final thought on that. While slang builds community, that informality can sometimes cause misunderstandings if the meaning isn't quite clear from context. And it can sometimes feel a bit exclusive if you're not in the know. So awareness of when and where to use it, or just understanding its impact is always important.
Good point. Well, we've covered a huge amount today. From defining slang and looking at tons of examples to exploring those fascinating, sometimes baffling regional word differences and talking about how things like movies can help you learn.
It's certainly a dive into the rich, messy, vibrant reality of English as it's actually spoken.
So here's a thought to leave you with.
Mhm.
Think about the words people choose, whether it's the slang they use just with their close friends or that specific regional word they have for, I don't know, a fizzy drink or a pair of shoes. Those choices aren't just about conveying information, are they? They're reflecting a little piece of who that person is, where they come from, what groups they belong to. Paying attention to those details, it can really unlock a much deeper appreciation for the language and, maybe more importantly, for the people who speak it.